Hey kids, happy New Year. How are you guys doing today? We have an awesome show to start off the year with that I've been trying to get uh, set up for a couple weeks now. I'm really appreciate this guy taking his time to come join us. Hope you guys had a wonderful night last night and party with your friends, enjoyed it, and I really hope that this next year, I can't imagine a more exciting year in crypto than 2023. I mean, 2022 was insane. 2023 is going to be insane. So, and even better, I would say. I've got Hexponential, which I love the name Hexponential, from the project Win-Win, joining us for a live AMA this morning. Go ahead and say hi, introduce yourself, Hexponential.
Hello, everyone. And thank you for having me on Hexray Vision. Appreciate it.
Oh, you
and
bet.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Now, like everyone in Hex, if you go to a Hex meetup or anything, the first one is your origin story, right? So how'd you get into crypto and Hex and this whole crazy world?
Yep. So it was July 2021. And I was on Twitter and I saw a post from Aubrey de Grey saying, "Thank you, Richard, for the 16 mil that you raised for Pulse Chain." That's what it was at the time because the Pulse Chain sacrifice hadn't closed. And I thought, who's Richard? Who's this Richard Hart guy who's raised $16 million for Sens? So I looked into it and I watched I think the first video that I saw was Richard's debate with Peter McCormack. And which I think was
the first one or the second one?
I think it was the first one.
Okay. And that's the one where he's just like scam.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah,
I hope you go to prison and get bum raped.
Yes, and I was like, oh, this guy's really mad. And Richard's response, I just thought he was just clearly highly intelligent and charming and funny, and I was like, oh, this guy's really interesting. So I looked into it more. And sort of, I hadn't been in crypto. I contemplated buying some Doge about, 5 years ago or whatever, but didn't for whatever reason. And yeah, once I'd seen enough Richard content, I thought, yeah, I need to take part in this sacrifice. This is really cool, like what he's building and, what Pulse Chain stands for, freedom of speech and all that kind of stuff. So I did. So my first ever crypto transaction was buying Ethereum on exchange, obviously, and then sent it off to my fresh Metamask, and from there, my first blockchain transaction was the Sens sacrifice. So I've sacrificed to Sens. Yeah, so that's my
insane. And it's like a lot of people would say that's incredibly recent, like July 2020, and that sacrifice. There's so many people that have just managed to hear about the sacrifice just in time. That was their introduction to Richard Hart. Which is I can't imagine like a better, like if you're gonna hit something like that, sacrifice is probably a really good place to start, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Very worthwhile.
And being someone who is joined about that time, we're going on around 2 years for this. What is it like for you to be waiting for this? Not only waiting for the sacrifice or for the launch of Pulse Chain for your sacrifice coins, but also you've got a project that's launching on Pulse at the same time, right?
I'm just making a tweet right now saying live with Hexray Vision.
Awesome.
So sorry, what was the question?
I was saying a lot of us have it's been very trying for us. People are not patient, by nature, and then when they sacrifice for this new coin and they wait 2 years, that's like that's got to be bad for just someone who sacrifices, but you're also waiting to launch a project as well.
Yeah, I mean, personally, the bear market has been horrible. And I know you don't lose till you sell, and I haven't sold, therefore I haven't lost. But the number on the screen is not pretty, but that's okay. The saying is build in the bear, and that's definitely what we've been doing. My co-founders, one of them in particular, is very, very experienced in crypto. Super smart guy, has heaps of just general finance knowledge, excellent technical analyst. So when we're in chats, often the conversation, after an hour or two, we sort of start talking about other stuff, and he's been educating us on all things finance and crypto in general. So it's been just a really educational, fun experience. The whole getting into the community and meeting so many people, being on so many Twitter Spaces, doing these live streams, reading white paper after white paper, refining our tokenomics took us ages, like months, and we changed our minds about 10 different times. But I think every time we did change our mind, it just got better and better. And we're so proud of the tokenomics of what we've built thus far. It's really cool. So I know it was a bit of a ramble, but yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 18 months, even though it has been a bear market, and well, not all of it's been a bear market. The last year, say, has been, and it's not pretty watching the number go down. But if you can be finding fun things to do in the meantime and DCAing, then hopefully it'll all pay off.
Yeah, you're incredibly calm for this being your first bear. I remember the first time I saw the price just go from, well, I was a Bitcoin maxi back then. It was 17. So I saw my Bitcoin go from 20 grand to 3 grand. And I didn't take it too well. I was I was losing my shit. I was like, this is bad. This is horrible. But then again, when you see that, the Phoenix rise of 2021, right? You're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. So after a few waves, you actually get excited when you see the price crash. And I'm really hoping we see it crash a little bit more, right? I mean, everyone's saying 11K and pray for Bitcoin, and that usually drags the whole market up and down with it.
Yep.
But I'm thinking because it's been so delayed, and because I think there's some more exchanges that we're going to see exposed as not being solvent, wow, I think we'll definitely see some wicks down to 8K, and maybe even spend some time at 8K at this point, because it's like delayed. You know what I mean? It's like pulling a rubber band back.
Yeah. Wow. What exchanges are you concerned about? Binance?
Binance is a squirrely one. Binance is mysterious. They're good at hiding stuff. I'll say that about Binance. But yeah. I would say Gemini, I definitely wouldn't leave any money in Gemini. Wouldn't leave any money in Crypto.com. Wouldn't leave any money in Bybit. And there's a couple other that aren't coming to mind. But basically, what I believe is happening is they're sending the same pile of money from one exchange to another, taking a snapshot to claim that they're solvent, and then passing it on to the next exchange. The world of crypto is incredibly, incredibly small, right? Like there's really only a handful of people at the bottom of all these exchanges and most of these projects, because crypto's so new that there's only a handful of people that understand it, and only a handful of people with a couple of years experience in it as far as developing or running companies.
Yep.
So that small group, like if one of them gets sick, they all get sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that we're definitely going to see some more stuff. And then, I mean, FTX was just like the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't even the whole thing. That was just one crazy group of money laundering psychopaths. There's way more where that came from, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially anything tied to traditional finance. Traditional finance has got away with murder in the last 100 years, right?
Absolutely.
Like the money laundering that these big banks do for drug cartels, and then they get slapped on the wrist, right? Like a few billion for them is like $20 to me and you.
Yeah.
And then you see them manipulate the price of silver and gold, slap on the wrist, $20. And then here they made, an insane amount of money manipulating markets.
Yeah, well, the GFC. Slap on the wrist, less than a slap on the wrist. They got the government bailed them out. So
yeah, they got rewarded.
It is absolutely incomprehensible. And I guess that sort of dovetails back into, why we're in crypto, right? Like we don't want to be at the mercy of these institutions that clearly don't have our best interest at heart in any sense.
I remember hearing back in the day when I found Bitcoin, they're like, oh, we're going to replace the banks and we're going to go out around the government. We don't need anyone's permission to do this. And I was really excited. And unfortunately, we're still waiting for that to develop 10 years later, right? 12 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did the win-win idea come about, and how did you get your team together? How did that
Yep.
happen?
So just a bunch of guys in like Australia, New Zealand, we were just chatting, sort of became friends. We were talking about Hex, and we are talking about Pulse Chain and PulseX and crypto in general. We got on really well. And then I remember one night, one of my co-founders, J-Bags, he said, "Oh, guys, I reckon we've got enough brain power in this group to do our own thing." And we all fell silent for about 15, 20 seconds. And he's like, "Guys, you there?" And the reason that we'd all gone silent is because I think we all knew exactly how much work it was going to be. And it has been a crazy amount of work. It's sort of been all consuming, but it's been a lot of fun. So that was kind of, we just met in the Hex community, Pulse Chain, voice chat. And then, we've sort of brought it as far as we have now. The thing that so originally it was going to be a bit of a Hex lottery, I guess, or maybe even with a charity element. So everyone pulls their Hex together for a big 1 year stake, and then the charity gets the yield at the end of the year, and everyone gets their principal back. Everyone gets their principal Hex back. And we thought that was a really cool idea. But we then sort of started challenging ourselves. Well, can we make it bigger? Can it be bigger than just Hex, even though we all love Hex? And we thought, yes, it probably can be. So we started exploring how that could happen. We started looking at ways that we could integrate other platforms like liquid loans, Mint, Internet Money, Wallet Dividend. Recently, Fame, the Fame token, is looking like it could work really, really well with us. And then we kind of realized, okay, so this thing could grow over time. And that's when we sort of thought, okay, this has legs. Like we can really build something powerful here that people are going to love. And the opportunity to have sort of the thrill of winning prizes, but none of the risk of losing your principal, we think that's pretty cool. In our research phase, we stumbled across Pool Together and looked at what they're doing. That's a really cool protocol. Ours is a little more, I don't know, how would you say it? A little more multifaceted. With Pool Together, you can only stake USDC, and it's only on Ethereum and Optimism from memory, whereas ours has the ability to stake multiple assets, not just USDC. So Hex, Loan, USDL, Mint, Internet Money, Wallet Dividend. It really has the ability to grow a lot over time. We're only interested in creating separate smart contracts for proven projects that the community loves. So if something new comes out and we're all a bit sus on it, we certainly won't be adding it into win-win. Everything has to prove itself before we launch, or before we write a separate smart contract for it, I should say.
Awesome. And then there's also a lottery aspect to this, to win-win. Is that correct?
Yes, there is. So basically the way win-win works is it's like a conduit between the native yield-bearing mechanism of a given token and you. So let's take the loan token, for example. You can go straight to liquid loans and stake it and get yield in USDL, or you can stake it via win-win. When you stake it via win-win, you get less guaranteed yield, but the rest of your yield goes off into a prize pool along with everyone else's, and you purely on your size in that pool and how long you've been staked for, you go into a lottery and you could potentially win, a really huge prize, even if you're a small player, and that's what makes it so fun. And then from a big player, so the analogy I've used, I said a whale gets a whale's chance of winning their own yield plus a plankton's yield, and a plankton gets a plankton's chance of winning their own yield plus a whale's yield. So it's beautifully self-balancing in that way. So it's like a self-balancing no-loss lottery, I guess you could call it.
That's awesome. I love the idea of the no-loss lottery, because there's a lot of loss gambling going on in crypto. That's what originally drew me to crypto, was gambling. I heard about Bitcoin, and I was gambling online with Bitcoin and Ethereum when I was just bored back in the day. And a lot of people,
successful?
What's up?
Was it successful?
I think I lost as much as I gained. I'd go up 10 Bitcoin and down 10 Bitcoin because back then Bitcoin was only like $300.
Yeah.
And so like it wasn't it now I think, oh, I probably should have held on to those 10 that I won. But
Definitely.
but all of my Bitcoin I sacrificed, I put into the adoption amplifier at the beginning of Hex. So
Oh my God.
I took everything and went all in Hex, because if Bitcoin had paid me interest, I would have retired 5 years earlier.
Dude, congratulations. That's a real success story. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the when Mark Wilde wrote the book, The Second Crypto Revolution, he wasn't kidding. Like Bitcoin really was a revolutionary idea and experiment. But when Richard Hart showed up with finished code, audited, works, pays you to hold it, that really is completely revolutionary.
Yeah.
And a lot of people still don't know about it. You know, I would say most of the 8 billion people on the planet don't know about it yet.
Exactly. That's our job as a community, to slowly but surely make sure more and more people do.
Mm-hmm. And so to reiterate, the lottery winnings come from the yield of staking these tokens, correct?
Yes. So,
and these are all stakeable tokens that will create a yield on their own.
exactly.
So you guys don't have to put in like a tax, buy or sell tax or anything like that for this, do you?
Correct. No buyers or sell taxes.
Awesome.
So yeah, we utilize the native yield-bearing mechanisms of popular pulse chain assets. That's in a nutshell what we're doing. And then we've got our win token. And when you stake the win token, you get automatically entered into all of the prize pools, plus you automatically get daily yield in all of the yielded assets. So if you go on to docs.winwin.finance, you can see how the prices are broken down and how the yield is broken down.